Okay, well, here we are. It is great to be in Chicago. It's actually my first time here, so thank you for the warm welcome. I'm Jay Heller with NASDAQ. I've been with the company since 2008. I run our capital markets. And ultimately what that means is I have the opportunity to meet fantastic people such as Jessica. I work with all the banks. I work with our friends on the legal side. And just really looking to educate people and see if there's a path forward to really capitalize on the capital markets in the U.S. So that's myself. Jessica?
Hi, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Akerna, formerly MJ Freeway. So Akerna owns Leaf Data Systems and MJ Platform. And we recently completed a transaction to list on the NASDAQ on June 17th. So it's been a few months.
Yeah, that is a round of applause. So Jessica, you've been a publicly traded company for the last few months. How has that been, from yourself actually transitioning over from one entity to the other? Give us a little color, insight, I guess, I don't want to say the cons, but the pros of being listed on NASDAQ.
Well, we pursued this public transaction to have access to what is arguably the most valuable currency in the world, the NASDAQ public currency, and to be able to pursue some strategic M&A, so both currency and balance sheet. And we are in flight on our strategy and really look forward to actually being able to capitalize on some of the benefits from NASDAQ. It's been a rocky road. Anybody who's followed our stock, we had a huge run up, and now we're actually trading down a bit from where we listed, but we are still very positive about the benefits of being publicly listed and being on NASDAQ.
Yeah, and I would say, I think the aspect of really being able to enter the capital market foray and look for potential opportunities is without question beneficial. That's one of the main entities there. But from a company like Akerna, you're growing. We're seeing continued growth. We're seeing the projections for growth. And recently, you brought in a CRO. So tell us about the reason behind that, why that's so important for the company, and the thoughts.
Oh, thank you. So first, for anyone who's not familiar with Akerna and our products, we create the world's most transparent and accountable consumer packaged goods supply chain at global scale. So, and we do, I've heard, listened to the speakers up here earlier calling it CPG, and the conversation is shifting to CPG, and we really do think about it that way because what we do is applicable not only to cannabis, but also to almost anything you put on or in your bodies, and we're seeing some rapid growth in the hemp and CBD arenas as well. So we have two main products. We're a SaaS company, and the way you should think about us as investors is as a software as a service company that happens to serve cannabis, which is arguably the fastest growing industry in the world. I think it's already bigger than craft beer, chocolates, and tomatoes. So there's some good data, some stats. And we brought in, as our businesses are continuing to rise to the next level of professionalism, and as we are serving a more and more sophisticated enterprise client, we are continuing to take moves to ensure that we are really acting as an enterprise company ourselves. And we brought in a CRO, Nina Samasco, who's a former SAP executive. She recently ran NTT iCubed, which is a very large SaaS company owned by NTT. And she's also worked with both Oracle and Nike Technology. So we're really excited to have her on board.
That's great. And I think one of the biggest takeaways here is if you were dating back a few years ago and we were talking about the cannabis industry and what that really meant from an exchange standpoint is, what works, what doesn't work, is there a path forward to listing on a U.S. exchange? And it's my job really here to educate people and say, it doesn't really matter in which sector in which you operate, as long as from an exchange standpoint in the U.S. is that you're not breaking federal law. But from what Jessica was saying before is they're operating in a SaaS capability, a technology type of company. So it's not just the growers, it's not hardware, it's not agricultural, it's not infrastructure. These are technology-based companies that have a tremendous opportunity and a path forward. And with that comes opportunity. And so with your company today, And for that matter, tomorrow, there's been some recent strategic partnerships, not only with other companies per se, but even with the governments around the globe. So do you want to touch on a little bit about what's going on there and the growth projections and partnerships that you're seeing?
Sure. So we announced a couple of recent strategic partnerships. We announced one with a company called Solo Sciences that creates a unique tagging technology. And I'd love to touch on this with vaping in a minute, but I'll just stay on governments here for a minute. This tagging technology is really an alternative to RFID tags that is cheaper and better. I mean, what's wrong with cheaper and better, right? Who doesn't want to hear that, especially a government official? It is less expensive and it is not as easily counterfeited. So it's cryptographically secure and really anti-counterfeit. It is its unique patented selling proposition. So we have an exclusive with them in the government space, and we recently responded to an RFP in the state of Utah, which we won. It was the first RFP to which we responded with this new tagging technology. So we're excited about rolling out first holistic state with this tagging technology. And we also announced a partnership with a company called Isolocity that allows us to provide the first GMP compliant technology solution for exporting cannabis. And our client, Clever Leaves in Colombia, recently performed the first export of legal cannabis from Colombia to Canada. So we've got a international solution, a global technology solution for what is certainly outside of the United States, emerging more and more as a global technology and global market for cannabis.
Wow.
Global industry.
Yeah, and I think that's really important what you touched on outside of the U.S. From a hard line today, from a grower standpoint, if you are operating in the U.S., that is deemed, as everybody knows, breaking federal law. So from that standpoint, it's really at this point in time not able to list on the primary exchange. However, if you're operating in countries where it is federally legal, there is a path forward. And so we're thoroughly engaging and speaking with people and really trying to not only educate, but again, being at a giant networking event here, we're trying to bring the right parties together around the globe. So I think that's really important. And you touched on before vaping. I think vaping is very much in the news. I have a teen, I have a 16-and-a-half-year-old, and so very much involved. And when you talked about the counterfeiting, I know that plays a large part, but specifically VapeGate, which is, I guess, the name that has been deemed. Tell us a little bit about VapeGate, what you're doing about it. Where do we see this going in the future as well?
Sure. Well, I actually want to start with a little story. So I'm from the future. I'm from Colorado, where we've been fully legal for a long time. And just the other day, some couple friends of ours and our kids, we all went to dinner. And the couple with whom we were having dinner, they picked up their mom from the retirement home to come have dinner with us. So Grandma from the retirement home is sitting, we're all having dinner together, and Grandma starts to have a pain episode. She's in a walker, she's in pain, and she pulls out her discreet little vape pen from her purse, and she takes a little puff off her vape, and then she's able to continue to enjoy dinner with the family. So this is why we cannot ban vaping, and also we quite literally have the solution to what is happening right now with the vaping illness.
Yeah.
So all of the illnesses have been linked to the illicit market to date,
Right.
Except for maybe one that might have been bought at a licensed operator. Now, MJ Platform, in our software, we natively have the ability to track additives. And if states were to not ban vaping and push people to illicit market where they're going to get less safe product, if they were to instead just require that the operators track additives, all of the operators would have the ability to do that tomorrow. And then if there were an issue with a particular additive, we'd be able to narrow that down nearly immediately with almost perfect accuracy. So we can tell you the farm on which the plants were grown, when they were harvested, on what day, when they were manufactured, when that went to retail, and when, in the retail, when it was sold, on what day, at what time, and to whom.
Wow.
So it's a huge level of detail. And recently, in our partnership with Solo, the little tagging technology, they have a consumer app. And the consumer app can allow the consumers to pull up and access that information from our system. So they're integrated to us, and a consumer can interact with the tag, and if it's a counterfeit tag, it's not going to pull up the information. You know, if somebody bought one of these brand packages, you've all seen it, brand packages that can just be bought off Amazon and they're being filled in the black market, they can know that they're getting a product that has been gone through the rigor of legal industry. It has been tested. It has been ensured to follow all traceability standards. So that commitment that we're making, not only to what we do in traceability, but also to providing the consumer a way to understand the traceability and transparency of the products and what they're getting.
And I think if nothing else, that builds confidence, right? Brings a lot of confidence to this industry. It doesn't matter if you're in a clothing industry or in a vaping industry, regardless of how you're operating, having that confidence that you know exactly what you're buying is what you're buying. I mean, that's really a protectionism facet that's really been put into place, which is beneficial for everybody, I would have to think, young and old. So let's look forward now. We're in 2019. 2020 is right around the corner. What's on the horizon? What excites you for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you see the company? Where are you taking the company to the next level over the next few years?
Well, we've been so excited about some of the growth opportunity in cannabis and continue to be very excited about that. And very much you see it through our actions that we are making these strategic partnerships in addition to Nina joining our management team before we listed. Mark Iwanowski, the former CIO of Oracle, joined our board. So really making these types of strategic partnerships to bring us into the future. And beyond cannabis for us, we are already now working with hemp CBD because we're really an ag tech play, if you will. We're not only applicable to cannabis. I've consulted for a lot of other industries, and in the 3, 5, 10-year time frame, expect to see us being applied to other industries. So everybody remember when we couldn't eat romaine lettuce, kind of at the beginning of this year? If that were cannabis right now, and we were tracking it with our software, it took the FDA weeks to narrow down the source of that contamination, and then not with 100% accuracy. If that were cannabis, we would know. So there's absolutely applications, and as a parent, as a consumer, I want that level of transparency and accountability for all of the products that I put on and in my body.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can see there's a tremendous amount that's going on with just this company right now, and they're really earmarked for growth. When you look at just the space in itself, even in the US, again, with the Farm Bill, with the descheduling, with safe banking, we're in the early stages here. So again, we meet with people all the time, entrepreneurs that are extremely successful in the ways that they operate their business. And we're looking forward to what brings the next 3 years, 5 years as well, because the people sitting here today may be sitting in Jessica's seat tomorrow, and that's really what we're looking for. And if there's a means from an exchange to really partner and help amplify your message and help you network and meet those connections, we're going to do everything that we can. And it's from my standpoint, it's truly been a pleasure today to sit with you and chat. Any closing remarks, anything else we should know about the company that you want to just make sure everybody hears?
So I actually want to share some remarks about the industry as a whole, a few data points. So we collect data across all of our operations. And one thing I can tell you in the wake of some of the news around vaping, yes, there has been a decrease in purchases of vaping, but people are not buying less cannabis. So as you're looking at the industry and as you're considering it through an investment lens, the demand has not decreased in any way. So I think the overall health of the industry is steady, and we just need to consider how do we actually bring regulation, taxation, compliance, all of these pieces to bear so that we can support a healthy legal industry together.
That's great. Well, I think we are just about up. We'll give you 10 seconds back. We thank everybody for your time, and Jessica, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure, Jay.
Thanks, everybody.